The twin moons of the colony world hung low in the sky, casting silver light over the silent streets. The night was colder than usual. A sharp wind cut through the narrow alleys, rattling metal signs and lifting dust from the ground. Aaron pulled his jacket tighter as he left the repair docks. His shift had been long and his hands were sore from handling old ship parts, but he was used to the work. The colony was rough and not many humans lived here, yet Aaron had made it home for years. He liked to walk the quiet path back to his small dwelling, rather than ride the noisy shuttles. The walk gave him time to breathe and think. The road was empty until he turned a corner and saw a small figure near the edge of a wall. At first he thought it was debris or maybe a broken machine, but then he saw movement. The figure shifted weakly, pressing itself against the wall as if trying to hide. Aaron stopped in his tracks. The figure was no bigger than a child, thin and fragile, shivering in the cold air. He stepped closer. The glow from the moons revealed her features. She was not human. Her skin was pale with faint blue lines running across it, as if her very blood traced patterns beneath the surface. Her eyes were large, half open, shining faintly but dulled by exhaustion. She wore no proper clothing, only a thin cloth that was torn and dirty. She trembled, her small hands clutching herself for warmth. Aaron's heart tightened. Whoever she was, she would not last long out here. The wind was too sharp and she looked too weak to even stand. He looked around, but the street was deserted. No guards, no drones, no travelers. Without thinking further, Aaron pulled off his heavy coat and bent down. He wrapped the coat around her small frame. The cloth almost swallowed her, but she immediately sank into its warmth. She gave a faint sound, not quite a word, but a sigh of relief. Her trembling lessened, though she still clutched the coat as if it were the only thing keeping her alive. Aaron spoke gently. "Can you hear me? Are you all right?" Her lips moved, but her voice came out faint and broken. He could not understand the words. It sounded like a name maybe, but too soft to catch. She lowered her head, her eyelids heavy, her body too weak to answer more. Aaron knew she could not stay out here another minute. He glanced down the street again. The colony had patrol drones that often scanned for disturbances, but none were nearby yet. He lifted the girl carefully in his arms. She weighed almost nothing. For a moment she tensed, then relaxed when she realized he was holding her gently. He began walking quickly toward his home. The air bit at his arms now that he had no coat, but he ignored it. He could feel how cold her skin was even through the fabric, and he moved faster. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? Why was she alone in this part of the colony? Why did she look so different from the other aliens he had seen here? But questions could wait. For now he only thought about keeping her alive. When he reached his dwelling, a small metal unit at the edge of the colony, he unlocked the door and carried her inside. The warmth of the heater greeted him, though the space was modest. The girl stirred slightly, blinking at the change of light. Aaron set her gently on his old cot and adjusted the coat around her so no cold air reached her skin. He poured water into a small cup and offered it to her. She tried to lift her hand but failed, too weak, so he helped her hold the cup to her lips. She sipped slowly. Her eyes flicked up at him as if studying his face. For a moment Aaron thought there was something strange about the way she looked at him. Not fear, not mistrust, but a deep, searching gaze. After she finished drinking, he gave her a piece of soft bread. She ate it with slow bites as if each one cost her strength. When she was done, she sank back into the cot, still wrapped in his coat. Aaron sat beside her, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. He spoke quietly, not expecting answers. "You must have run from something. I don't know why you are here, but you are safe for now. No one will hurt you while you are here." She closed her eyes, but he noticed a single tear at the corner. She did not speak, yet that tear told him more than words. Aaron sighed. He had lived on this colony for a long time. He had seen cruelty, hunger, and wars fought over resources. He had seen many aliens treat humans as lesser beings, and he had watched humans treat aliens the same way. But to him, none of that mattered in this moment. All he saw was a child, shivering and lost. He adjusted the heater to make the room warmer. Then he sat in silence, watching her breathing grow steadier. Every once in a while she stirred, gripping the coat tighter as if afraid it would be taken away. Hours passed. The night grew deeper, and the moons moved across the sky outside. Aaron felt tired, but he refused to sleep. He stayed awake, making sure the girl was all right. Near dawn, he heard the faint hum of patrol drones outside. He froze and listened carefully. The sound passed by and faded, but it made him uneasy. Patrols usually came only when the colony authorities were searching for someone. He looked at the girl again. Her breathing was calm now, but he wondered who she was and what danger might follow her. When the first light of the sun rose, Aaron stretched his stiff shoulders. He fetched a small blanket from his storage and placed it gently over her. She stirred, opening her eyes just enough to meet his gaze. Her lips moved. This time he heard a whisper clear enough to catch. Mira. It was her name. She had given it to him softly, almost shyly, before closing her eyes again and drifting back into rest. Aaron repeated the name in his mind. Mira. It suited her, simple and delicate, yet it carried weight. He leaned back, letting out a slow breath. He had no idea who she truly was or what her presence in his small dwelling might mean. But one thing was certain. He had found her trembling in the cold, and he had chosen to act. He had wrapped her in his coat because no one else would. And now, whatever came, he would not abandon her. The morning light filled the room. Mira slept peacefully, and Aaron kept watch, unaware that his single act of kindness had already placed him in the center of something far greater than he imagined. The first rays of the sun touched the colony, spreading light over the dusty streets and metal towers. Aaron stood by the window of his small dwelling, watching the settlement wake. Merchants opened their stalls. Drones began their routine patrols, and workers hurried toward the docks. The ordinary rhythm of the colony had started again. Yet inside his room, nothing felt ordinary. Behind him, the girl named Mira still lay on his cot. She had slept through the night, wrapped tightly in his coat and blanket. Her breathing was steady now, though her face looked pale and tired. Aaron studied her quietly. He still knew almost nothing about her. All he had was a name. Aaron rubbed the back of his neck. He had never wanted to get involved in the troubles of others. He repaired ships, earned enough credits to survive, and stayed clear of politics. That was his life. But the moment he had seen Mira shaking in the cold, his heart had made the decision for him. He could not walk away. He stepped into the kitchen corner and prepared a small bowl of hot broth from dried rations. The smell filled the air. Mira stirred, blinking slowly awake. Her eyes adjusted to the light, and she pushed herself up weakly on the cot. Aaron turned and gave her a small smile. You are awake. That is good. Here, eat this. It will give you strength. He carried the bowl to her and held it steady. She hesitated, her thin fingers trembling as she reached for the spoon. For a moment it seemed she might not be able to lift it. Aaron gently helped guide her hand. She gave him a faint look, almost embarrassed, then accepted his help. She took careful sips of the broth. When she had finished, her eyes softened with relief. Her voice was still weak, but she managed to whisper, "Thank you." Aaron nodded. "You do not need to thank me. You were in need. I did what anyone should do." But deep inside, he knew not everyone would have done the same. The colony could be cruel, especially to those who looked vulnerable. Many would have walked past her, or worse. He pushed away that thought. Mira sat in silence for a while, studying the room with cautious eyes. Aaron noticed how alert she seemed despite her exhaustion. She looked at every corner, every item, as if storing the details in her memory. It was not the behavior of an ordinary child. Finally, she looked at him and asked softly, "Why did you help me?" Aaron was quiet for a moment. The question was simple, yet her tone carried weight. He answered with honesty, "Because you needed help. Because no one should be left alone in the cold." Mira lowered her gaze, her hands tightening around the blanket. Her lips pressed together as if she was holding back words she could not share. Aaron sensed there was more to her story, but he did not push her. He respected the silence she carried. Outside, the sound of patrol drones returned. This time, they hovered longer than before. Aaron moved to the window and peered out carefully. 2 drones drifted slowly along the street, scanning with bright blue lights. Moments later, a group of alien guards appeared. They wore polished armor and carried stun weapons. Their voices echoed as they spoke to each other, their words sharp and urgent. Aaron frowned. The guards were not usually this active in his part of the colony. He stepped back from the window and looked at Mira. She had gone still, her eyes wide. She clutched the blanket so tightly her knuckles turned pale. Aaron crouched near her. "Are they looking for you?" She did not answer, but her silence said enough. Her shoulders shook slightly as she lowered her head. Aaron let out a slow breath. Whatever her past was, it had now reached his doorstep. The guards moved door to door, questioning residents. Aaron could hear muffled replies from his neighbors. His chest tightened. If they came here, what would he say? Mira whispered suddenly, her voice trembling. If they find me, they will take me away. Her eyes filled with fear, and Aaron felt the weight of her words. He had no idea why the guards wanted her, but he could see the truth in her face. If she was taken, her fate would not be kind. Aaron spoke firmly, though his voice was calm. Then they will not find you here. Stay quiet. He guided her gently to the storage compartment at the back of the room. It was small, filled with tools and spare parts, but it would hide her well enough if the guards entered. Mira hesitated, her lips parting as if she wanted to argue, but she obeyed and slipped inside. He closed the door softly. Moments later, there was a knock at his door. Aaron straightened his shoulders and opened it. 2 alien guards stood outside, their eyes sharp and scanning. One spoke in a commanding tone. Have you seen anyone unusual? A young one, small, traveling alone. Aaron kept his face calm. No, I came home after my shift and stayed inside. I have seen no one. The guard narrowed his eyes. His companion stepped closer, peering into the room. Aaron met his gaze without flinching. For years he had lived among them, and he had learned one thing. Never show fear. Fear made you a target. The guard sniffed as if testing his words, then finally stepped back. If you see anything, report at once, Aaron nodded. Of course. They lingered a moment longer, then turned and moved on. Their footsteps echoed down the street. The hum of the drones faded. Aaron closed the door slowly, his heart pounding. He moved quickly to the storage compartment and opened it. Mira was curled inside, hugging her knees. When she saw him, relief washed over her face. She climbed out, her body still shaking slightly. They are gone, Aaron said gently. You are safe for now. Mira looked at him with wide eyes. For a moment she seemed unable to speak. Then she whispered, Why do you protect me? You could be punished if they find me here. Aaron looked at her steadily. Because I will not hand over a frightened child to people who hunt her like prey. That is reason enough. She stared at him, her lips parted. Slowly, tears welled in her eyes. She wiped them quickly as if ashamed to show weakness. Aaron felt a surge of compassion. He reached out and placed a steady hand on her shoulder. You do not need to be afraid here. The rest of the day passed quietly. Mira remained near the cot, resting but always alert. She spoke little, yet Aaron noticed the way she listened to every sound outside. She carried herself with a strange mixture of fragility and hidden strength, as if her spirit had been trained to endure much more than a child should. As evening came, Aaron prepared another simple meal. Mira ate slowly, but her color seemed to return a little. Afterward, she sat in silence for a long time before finally speaking again. My name is Mira, she repeated. As if to remind him, I remember, Aaron said. You do not know who I am, she whispered. Aaron nodded. That is true, but I do not need to know. To me, you are someone who needed help. That is enough. Her eyes searched his face once more, and this time her expression softened. She looked almost as if she wanted to trust, though something inside still held her back. The night deepened. Aaron sat by the window, watching the moons rise again. Mira lay on the cot, wrapped in his coat. Slowly, her breathing grew even and she drifted into sleep. Aaron remained awake, listening to the distant hum of patrols, knowing the search was not over. He glanced back at Mira, her face peaceful for the first time since he had found her. He whispered to himself, though she could not hear. Whoever you are, whatever danger follows you, I will not let them take you. Not while you are under my roof. The night was quiet, but beneath its silence, Aaron could feel the storm gathering. The morning began with the sound of footsteps in the street. Aaron woke quickly, his senses alert. He had not slept much during the night, keeping half an ear open for trouble. The colony was rarely quiet these days, and with Mira hiding under his roof, every noise seemed louder. He rose from his chair by the window and looked outside through the small crack in the curtain. 2 alien guards were already on the corner, speaking with a shopkeeper. Their weapons gleamed in the sunlight. Drones hovered above them, their blue light sweeping the street as they scanned for movement. Aaron frowned. The search was not slowing down. It was growing. He turned back to the room. Mira sat on the cot, still wrapped in his coat. She had woken before him. Her eyes wide with unease, she looked toward the window as if she could feel the tension in the air. They are still searching, Aaron said quietly. Mira lowered her head and whispered, They will not stop. They will keep looking until they find me. Aaron studied her. She spoke with such certainty that it struck him. This was no runaway from a poor family. Whoever she was, she carried a weight far heavier. He wanted to ask again, but the fear in her eyes kept him silent. Pressing her would not help. Instead, he sat beside her. Listen to me. As long as you are here, you are safe. I will not let them take you. Her gaze lifted slowly to his face. For a moment, her eyes shone with something new. Trust, faint but real. The sound of boots echoed outside, moving closer. Aaron stiffened. He motioned for Mira to stay quiet. He stepped quickly to the storage compartment and opened it. Inside, he whispered. She obeyed at once, slipping inside the narrow space. Aaron closed the door softly, then returned to the table. He placed tools across it, pretending to work on a broken panel, his hands steady though his pulse raced. A heavy knock shook the door. Aaron stood and opened it. 3 guards waited outside this time. Their leader, tall and broad, spoke with authority. Human, have you seen anyone unusual? A girl of small build, pale skin, glowing markings. She is wanted for questioning. Aaron met his eyes. I have seen no one. I worked my shift, then came home. I stay out of trouble. The leader studied him for a long moment. One of the other guards stepped forward, scanning the inside of the room with sharp eyes. We should check, he said. The leader nodded. They entered. Aaron kept his face calm, though his chest felt tight. The guards moved around, lifting blankets, opening cupboards. One stepped dangerously close to the storage compartment where Mira hid. He paused, glancing at it. Aaron forced himself not to react. The guard gave the door a small push, but Aaron spoke quickly. Careful with that. It holds delicate parts. If you break anything, who will pay for it? Certainly not me. The guard hesitated, sneering. He pulled back his hand and moved away. After a tense few minutes, the leader turned toward Aaron. If you are lying, human, and we find her here, the punishment will be severe. Aaron kept his eyes steady. I am not lying. You will not find what is not here. The leader studied him once more, then motioned for the others to leave. They stepped outside, and the door shut behind them. Their footsteps echoed down the street until the sound faded. Aaron let out a slow breath. He waited a moment before opening the storage compartment. Mira crawled out, her face pale but her eyes burning with emotion. You lied for me, she whispered. Aaron shrugged lightly. It was the truth they needed to hear. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak more, but instead she wrapped the coat tighter around herself. She looked both grateful and troubled. Aaron could see the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to trust him, but something inside kept her guarded. Hours passed. The colony outside bustled as usual, but patrols grew more frequent. Every few minutes, drones passed overhead. Aaron knew this would not end soon. Whoever Mira was, she was important enough to stir the entire colony into action. That evening, while preparing food, Aaron heard Mira's voice softly behind him. I will not bring you more danger. I should leave, he turned sharply. Leave and go where? They are everywhere out there. You will be caught in minutes, her eyes lowered. Then at least you will be safe. You will not suffer because of me. Aaron placed the pot down firmly. Listen, I do not help you because it is easy. I help you because it is right. Do you understand? I will not let fear decide for me. She looked at him, her lips parted in surprise. For a long time she said nothing. Then very softly she whispered, Why are you different? Aaron frowned slightly. Different? Yes, she said. Others see me and turn away. Some would give me to the guards without a thought. But you gave me your coat. You hid me. You speak to me as if I am just a person. Aaron met her gaze. Because you are. Whatever secrets you carry, whatever reasons they chase you, it does not change what I see. You are a girl who is cold and hungry. That is enough for me. Her eyes glistened, and she turned her face away, wiping quickly at the corners. Aaron pretended not to notice, giving her the dignity of silence. That night, the colony broadcast interrupted the regular news. Every screen flickered with the same image. The face of the alien queen. Her voice rang across the streets, and a message carried to all. My daughter is missing. She was taken from my side during travel. She is small, pale, with marks of our royal line upon her skin. Whoever shelters her must bring her back unharmed. Any who disobey will face punishment. Any who help will be rewarded beyond measure. Aaron stood frozen, staring at the screen. His heart pounded. He turned slowly toward Mira. She stood stiff, her face pale, her eyes wide with shame. You he whispered. You are... She nodded faintly before he could finish. The Queen's daughter. Silence filled the room. Aaron sank into his chair, the weight of the truth heavy on his shoulders. He had not just hidden a lost child. He had hidden the heir of one of the most powerful rulers in the sector. Mira looked down, her voice breaking. Now you know why they will never stop. I'm not free to run. My mother rules many worlds. I am her blood, and I cannot escape who I am. Aaron stared at her. His life had been simple until yesterday. Now it was tied to something far larger than he ever imagined. But as he looked at her trembling form, wrapped still in his coat, he realized something. Nothing had changed in his heart. She was still the girl he had found in the cold. You are Mira, he said quietly. That is what matters to me. She lifted her head, her eyes wide, shining with disbelief. For the first time, her lips curved in the faintest smile. Outside, the colony stirred with the Queen's message. Patrols doubled, neighbors whispered, and greed rose in many hearts at the promise of reward. The search had tightened and danger was closing in. Inside the small dwelling, however, a bond was forming. Human and alien, stranger and royal, bound not by power or blood but by an act of simple compassion. Aaron knew the storm was far from over, but he also knew this: he would not abandon her. The night after the Queen's broadcast was heavy with unease. The colony streets filled with talk and suspicion. Some whispered that the royal daughter had been kidnapped. Others believed she had run away. Many looked to the reward with hungry eyes. A single name on their lips could bring them wealth beyond measure. Inside his small dwelling, Aaron sat in silence. His mind felt like a storm. He replayed the Queen's words again and again. Mira was not just a lost child. She was the heir to a throne, the blood of a ruler who commanded fleets and armies, and she was hiding under his roof. Mira sat across the room, her knees drawn to her chest, wrapped still in his coat. She did not look at him. Her eyes stared at the floor as if she was trapped between fear and shame. The light from the heater flickered over her pale skin, tracing the faint blue lines that marked her as royal. Aaron finally broke the silence. So it is true. You are the daughter of the Queen. Mira closed her eyes, then opened them slowly. Her voice was soft but steady. Yes, my name is Mira Sael. My mother is Queen Arila of the Ninth House. I was with her during a journey between worlds when we were attacked. In the chaos, I was separated. I fled, but the attackers chased me. I found a ship that carried me here. And now, she trailed off, her shoulders trembling. Now I am lost. Aaron listened, his expression calm though his chest tightened. The Ninth House was no small name. Even humans on distant colonies had heard of it. To shelter a royal heir was not only dangerous, it was unthinkable. Yet as he looked at Mira, he saw not a royal figure but the same girl he had wrapped in his coat, the same girl who had whispered her name to him in the quiet of dawn. You fear your own people, Aaron said carefully. Why? Mira looked at him, her eyes wide. Because I'm not free. My life is duty, nothing more. I was raised to obey the house, to speak as they command, to walk only where they allow. When I was lost, when I was cold, I thought, maybe I could be myself, even for a little while. But the moment I was found missing, they turned the whole sector into a cage. Aaron leaned back, studying her. He understood now why she had not revealed her identity sooner. She was not just hunted by enemies, but also bound by her own bloodline. Your mother must love you, he said gently. She looked desperate in her message. Mira's lips pressed together. She loves me as a queen loves an heir, not as a mother loves a child. Her voice can be kind, but her eyes are always filled with expectation. I am not Mira to her. I am a future queen. That is all. Her words cut the air with quiet pain. Aaron felt it deep in his chest. He had never known wealth or power. His life had been hard, but at least it had been his own. To imagine a child born into endless duty, never free to choose her own path, filled him with sorrow. He leaned forward. When I found you, you were just a girl, shivering, scared, and alone. That is who you are to me. Not a queen. Not an heir. Just Mira. Her eyes widened. She stared at him as if she had never heard such words before. Slowly, her lips curved into the faintest of smiles. It was fragile, like a flower blooming in winter, but it was real. The moment of quiet passed when footsteps echoed outside. Aaron's muscles tensed. More guards. He moved to the window and peered out. A squad marched past, their armor glinting under the moons. They scanned every door, every shadow. Aaron's grip on the curtain tightened. "They are searching harder," he whispered. Mira stood, wrapping the coat tighter. "They will not stop until I am found." Aaron turned back to her. His decision was clear. "Then we must stay ahead of them. You cannot leave the colony yet, not with this many eyes watching, but we can keep you safe until the search cools." Mira looked uncertain. "Why risk so much for me? You could give me up and earn a reward greater than anything you have ever known." Aaron gave a small laugh without humor. "And what would I do with such reward? Live rich while knowing I gave away a child who trusted me? No, that is not who I am." Her gaze softened again. She lowered her head, whispering, "I have never met anyone like you." The night dragged on with tension thick in the air. They spoke little after that, each lost in thought. Aaron sharpened a few tools, pretending to busy himself, but his eyes often drifted to Mira, making sure she was calm. Near midnight, a sound broke the silence. A soft tap against the door. Not the heavy knock of guards, but something lighter. Aaron froze. He motioned for Mira to stay hidden and stepped to the door. He opened it a crack. A neighbor stood there, an older human man named Bryn who lived 2 doors away. His face was uneasy. "Aaron," Bryn whispered quickly, "the guards are speaking of you. They say you looked too calm when they searched your place. They think you are hiding something." Aaron's chest tightened. "And you? What do you think?" Bryn hesitated. His eyes darted nervously. "I do not want trouble. But if they come again, they will tear your place apart. Be ready." Without waiting for a reply, he hurried off into the night. Aaron closed the door slowly. Mira stepped out from the corner, her eyes full of worry. "They suspect you because of me," Aaron shrugged. "Then we must be smarter." "We will find a way." Mira stepped closer, her small hands gripping the coat tighter. "You should not suffer for me. I bring nothing but danger." Aaron placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "You bring truth. And you remind me that even in this world of cold steel and harsh laws, compassion still matters. That is worth every risk." Her eyes shimmered and she looked away quickly, blinking fast to hide the tears. Aaron said nothing more, respecting her silence. The next day was worse. Guards doubled their patrols. Posters with Mira's likeness appeared on screens across the colony. Neighbors whispered as Aaron walked to the repair docks. He kept his head down, working as usual, but he felt the weight of eyes on him. When he returned home, Mira was waiting, her face pale. She spoke the moment he entered. "We cannot stay here much longer. They will come again, and next time they will not leave without finding me." Aaron set down his tools. He knew she was right. Their time was running out. But he also knew he could not send her away. "We will find another place," he said firmly. "A place where they will not think to look." Mira's voice trembled. "Why do you keep saying we?" "This is not your fight." Aaron looked at her with calm eyes. "Because from the moment I wrapped you in my coat, it became my fight too." Her lips parted and she stared at him for a long moment. Then for the first time she whispered his name. "Aaron." It was the first time she had spoken it, and it felt like a bond sealed in the quiet of the room. Outside, the colony roared with the Queen's command, with guards and drones and whispers of reward. But inside the small dwelling, human and alien sat together, bound not by duty or power but by the simple truth of kindness shared in a cold world. Aaron did not know what would come next, but he knew this much: he would face it with her. The storm outside had grown weaker, and the white plains stretched far in every direction. Above the sky, shadows moved like giant wings. It was not a storm cloud, but the shape of a massive alien ship. The vessel was so large that the frozen ground seemed to tremble under its silent weight. Paul looked up, his coat heavy on his shoulders, and he felt very small under the gaze of the galaxy's most feared empire. Beside him stood Nira, her hands shaking, though not from cold this time. Her glowing blue skin reflected the lights that came down from the ship. Her eyes were wide with fear but also with hope. She knew her mother was near. Queen Marielle, ruler of the Zevlon Empire, had come. A beam of light shot down, and from it emerged tall, armored guards. Their steps pressed deep marks into the snow. At last another figure walked forward. She was tall and elegant, with eyes that shone like polished steel. Her presence carried authority so strong that even the storm seemed quiet around her. This was the Queen. Her voice was calm but heavy with command. "Return to me, daughter. Enough of this foolish wandering. You are mine and you will come back." Nira took a step back, clutching Paul's arm. Her head shook slowly. No, Mother. I will not return. I want to live free. I want to choose my own path. The Queen's gaze turned sharp. Do not speak of choice. You were born to rule. Without you, the line of Zevlon will weaken. Do you think a simple human can protect you from the weight of destiny? Paul felt the Queen's eyes fall on him. He had never faced such power. He had no weapon, no army, nothing but his voice and his will. But he could not stay silent. He had carried Nira through the storm. He had promised to protect her. That promise meant more to him than fear of the Queen. He stepped forward. She is not only your daughter. She is her own person. She has the right to choose what kind of life she wants. The guards tightened their grip on their weapons, shocked by the human's boldness. None dared to interrupt their queen, yet this human spoke with no fear. Marielle's lips curved into a cold smile. You are brave for your kind, but bravery is not strength. You are nothing compared to the empire I command. Do you truly think your words can change her fate? Paul's heart beat fast, but he kept his voice steady. I do not command an empire. I only stand by a friend. Maybe you have power, maybe you can crush planets, but what good is power if it cannot respect the heart of your own child? Nira's grip on his arm grew stronger. Her eyes filled with tears, yet she stood taller now. For the first time, someone had spoken for her against her mother. The Queen raised her hand, and the storm wind seemed to answer. Yet she did not strike. She studied Paul closely. There was something in his eyes that she had not seen in her council, her soldiers, or even her allies. It was the strength of simple humanity, a courage that asked for nothing in return. You think love is stronger than fear? The Queen asked. Paul nodded. I know it is. Fear fades when power shifts. Love endures even in weakness. That is what makes us human. That is what makes her more than a throne. The silence stretched across the frozen plain. The guards looked uncertain, their helmets hiding their faces but not their unease. Even the great ship above seemed to wait for the Queen's answer. At last, Queen Marielle turned her gaze toward her daughter. Nira stood still, meeting her mother's eyes without bowing. For the first time, she was not a child hiding behind the shadow of an empire. She was someone who wanted her own life. The Queen's voice softened, though it still carried the weight of command. Nira, you would abandon the stars for the company of a single human. Nira's voice did not shake. I would rather walk freely with him than sit as a prisoner on a golden throne. The Queen closed her eyes, and for a moment she remembered her own youth before power had bound her. She remembered dreams she had buried long ago. Opening her eyes again, she looked at Paul. You have given her a voice she did not dare to use. Few have ever spoken to me as you have. Perhaps there is strength in your kind that I have overlooked. Paul did not move. He feared this might still be a trick. But the Queen raised her hand again, and the guards lowered their weapons. I will not force her today. The Empire will not crumble without her. But know this, human. If harm comes to her, you will answer to me. With that, the Queen turned, her cloak flowing like shadow on snow. The guards followed, and a beam of light lifted them back to the ship. In moments, the great vessel rose higher, shrinking into the clouds until only silence remained. Paul let out a long breath he had been holding. His knees felt weak, but he stood firm. Nira turned to him, her eyes filled with relief and wonder. You spoke to her as if she were only a woman, not a queen, Nira whispered. No one has ever done that. Paul smiled faintly. Because before being a queen, she is still your mother. And before being part of her empire, you are still you. Nira wrapped her glowing arms around him, resting her head on his chest. For the first time since he had found her in the snow, she was no longer shaking. Together they looked at the horizon. The storm had cleared and the stars were bright above. Nira had chosen freedom, and Paul had shown that even the smallest human could stand before an empire and be heard. Their journey was not over. The Queen had left, but her eyes would always watch from afar. Yet something had changed. A seed of respect had been planted in the heart of a ruler, and a bond of trust had grown between a human and an alien girl. As the cold night stretched over the land, Paul pulled his coat tighter around Nira. He knew the path ahead would be full of trials. But he also knew they would face it together, step by step, under the endless stars. In the quiet, Nira whispered, Thank you, Paul, for standing for me when I could not stand for myself. He answered simply, That is what humans do. We stand. The snow crunched softly under their feet as they walked forward, no longer hunted, no longer afraid. In that frozen world, A human and an alien girl had written the beginning of a story that even empires could not erase.